All right, I'm here. D. McClung, Archer Monologues. Okay. I'm going to, I'm going to do a monologue. I don't mean like Johnny Carson or whoever you remember on late night talk radio or television. I'm going to do a monologue because that's the name of the show. It's a place where I, D. McClung, does the monologue thing. And there's some confusion out there amongst the people that a monologue is really not really a monologue, but a conversation or a dialogue or a debate or an argument or something like that. And if you don't know what the word monologue means, look it up in the dictionary. A real dictionary, not dictionary.com, which is a joke, by the way. Anyway, monologue means mono, meaning one, me, I am going to talk. I'm going to do a thing and talk, and that's me talking and nobody else talking, because it's called a monologue, meaning kind of like one person talking. There are a lot of situations in the world where you actually have a situation of monologue. Not always a good thing. For example, if you're going to school, let's say high school, and you go into school and you go into the classroom, you sit down and you're there with a bunch of other people, kids, young folk like yourself, which is not a bad thing. And and there's a teacher comes in, and I'm the teacher. I'm Miss Kravitz or Cranston, or I'm Mr. Asshole, and I'm your teacher, and I'm going to talk, and you're going to shut up and listen, and put this shit in your head, and then you're going to go home, and it's in your head, and then you'll be stupid. And miseducated, and brainwashed, indoctrinated, manipulated, conditioned, and pretty much terrorized by me, the Nazi teacher. And then that would be like a monologue in a bad way, because then the student's like saying, I got a question, teacher. And the teacher says, shut up. I'm telling you what's going on, and that's it. This is not debatable. There will be no questions from the gallery. You'll just listen, learn, and remember what I'm telling you. And I'm going to say things to you, because this is like a history class, and I'm telling you history. In this case, American history. Or world history, whatever. And I'm the teacher, so I'm going to tell you. And then you're going to read the textbook and believe everything that's in it, because that's the rule. And if you question any of it, we're going to label you a troublemaker. And probably force you to take drugs. Because you're like, you've got some kind of disease or illness called, mental illness called curiosity, and that other disease called intellect. And you're a troublemaker because, you ask questions. And you question me, the teacher, the authority, and the last word. Now just think, just imagine. If you were a young person in school, at some point you probably were, if you're not now, and I hope some young people are listening to this, because you need to hear this, people. Okay? Kids, pay attention. This is important. And it's a monologue, but you should ask questions. As somebody once said, question everything, including me. But even though this is a monologue, doesn't mean you can't question what I say. I would hope that you would question what I say. The reason I have formulated this or formatted this show as a monologue is because it's not a dialogue. I don't want to do a dialogue. I don't want to debate. I don't want to discuss. I don't want to argue. I don't want to bicker with, every fucking person on the planet. Which now the internet apparently makes quite possible. In other words, most people out there, whether you're listening to this show or not, if you're not listening, how do you know what I'm saying? You have this, foolish, weird notion that everything is an argument. Everybody should be arguing and bickering and bickering and bickering ad infinitum. And there's a lot of this going on, a lot of this name calling and shaming and disrespectfulness and hate and venom and vileness, and it's kind of disgusting. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to throw this in the middle here of my introduction to the subject. I'm just going to throw the subject in there. Pedophiles are the new nigger. Whoops. Did you say that? Yeah, I did. Because words are words. And words do exist. In the linguistic or semantic sense, they do exist. You can write them down on paper and type them on your freaking computer screen. And you can, I started to do a little bit of an Indian accent there for a minute. Johnny 5, Johnny 5. Somebody's gonna hurt so real bad. Anyway, I'm gonna do a whole show as an Indian, okay, Pakistan, India, one of those guys. I'm gonna do the whole show one of these days with that accent. I think it's cool. It's really cute. I like it, and I can do it. And not to mock anyone or make fun of anyone, because seriously, it's really an awesome accent. And like I said, I can do it. All right, but not today. So, what I'm saying here is that question, yes. And that takes the form of a question. In other words, if you question something, which you should do, then put it in the form of a question. Like, duh. Like, okay, suppose I say something, and then you have you're like, teacher told me to question everything, including the teacher. So, do I think I'm a teacher? Do I think of myself as a teacher? Kind of. I have a problem with the word teacher because it relates to teaching, and teaching relates to, I'm going to take this knowledge or stupid shit and lies and bullshit and propaganda and all that and brainwashing stuff and just, cram it into your brain, and then you'll be brain damaged after that. So I have a problem with teaching or teacher because it used to be respectable, but it's not anymore. And I'm sorry, teacher, if you're listening, and I don't mean to be insulting or anything, but I guess it is an insult, actually. But the whole point here is not teaching. The point is learning. And that's a problem in America, at least, because people say, hey, teach. I'm a teacher. I got to teach. Which usually means I'm going to fill your head full of bullshit, lies, propaganda, and I'm going to brainwash you and be a fascist dictator and motherfucking bully and treat you badly. And you'll be like brain damaged after that. So that's the problem with being a teacher is today, in today's world, and particularly in high schools around America, public schools. Well, actually, there are Catholic schools that are in the same category. Actually, worse, kind of, sort of, because Catholic schools, or church schools in general, teach, bullshit, mythological nonsense, and things like that. And sorry, but if you're sending your kid to a Catholic school or to a Christian school, as it were, your kid's probably being brain damaged, because they're teaching, the kid's not learning particularly, the kid is just being brainwashed and indoctrinated with bullshit. Because, this thing about God, no such thing. Sorry. And anyway, that's not the point. What I wanted to talk about is, if you want to learn, that's good. That's a natural thing. Children are born into the world and they're curious, because they have to learn. Because if you're like a day-old baby and you're like an infant and you're like, I gotta learn stuff because I'm in a world that I've never been in before, and I need to know stuff about this world in order to survive. It's sort of like instinct. In order to survive, I need to know stuff. And I need to know, like, for example, I need to know how to get the attention of that woman who is holding me, that I came out of her belly area, and she's holding me, and I need to get her attention because I'm, like, freaking hungry. So, wah, wah, and I cry, and that gets me attention, and Mom says, baby wants to eat. And then they stick you on the nipple, and then, the baby. And the baby goes, food comes out of that. Awesome. And then they suck and they food. And they pretty much have this sucky thing down as an instinct, because sucking is natural. And they're kind of born with the instinct to suck. Suckle. And basically, because they need that for a titty thing. To be able to eat food, which they eat. Instinctively, they I'm kind of like, I need to eat. And so you stick a tit in their face, and then they suck on it and get milk, and they're nourished, and they grow, and they become bigger kids. And they head in that path towards being adults. Which, by the way, probably comes a lot sooner in life than people want to believe. I remember a time when 21 was considered adulthood. And if you were 20, you weren't adult. Seriously, in my lifetime, and I'm not that old, within recent history, America, as a rule, and a law even, said that, you're not an adult till you're 21. And you can't do adult things until you're 21. And if you're under 21, you're a kid. And like this word child, for example. You're a child. Like, excuse me, 20? Calling me a child? Seriously? What a fucking moron. So, the point is, learning is natural. It is instinctive. Children are curious by their very nature. They want to learn. And as they get more mature, as they evolve from like infant to toddler and so on, and child, they want to learn stuff because they figured out that learning stuff makes life better and more fun and more, kind of a necessity in order to survive. Because if you don't learn how to swallow, well, swallowing seems to be pretty much instinctive, doesn't it? Eating seems to be instinctive. Well, I'd say if you don't learn, to control your bladder, you're going to piss your pants a lot. And that's not going to be good for you, because you're going to say, this is pretty uncomfortable. And, it's disgusting, actually. I think that's not a socially learned thing. I think that's just a basic instinct. I mean, how many 20-year-olds do you know that actually piss their pants like a baby and think, normal? Probably not too many. So they learn that, like, pissing my pants and shitting in my diapers is, like, really not nice. It's not comfortable. It's not, it feels pretty crappy, so to speak. Crappy, get it? All right. And then, I'd rather not have that problem. And parents usually want kids not to do that very often, very early in the thing. You know what? I got to change your shitty diapers, and like a lot every day, several times a day, and it's just getting disgusting, and I just don't want to see any more shit. It's bad enough that I stand up and look in the toilet after I take a shit and see my shit. I mean, that's bad enough. But then that prompts you to flush it and make it go away. Cats go out in the woods and the yard, and they take a shit, and they cover it up. And they try to find like a little sand dune somewhere and cover it up. Because they're modest? Cats? Really? Because they're just, that's the natural thing. And I think most cats would do that even if they were only a week old. Well, except they weren't. Well, mom takes care of that for them until they're like at least 2 or 3 weeks old or 6 weeks old or whatever. And then they say, you know what? I'm not just going to shit, on my mother's face. I'm not just going to take a shit in my bed. It's just not something a cat should do when he's 6 weeks old. And so he finds a place and covers it up. Seems to be natural. Seems to be the natural, instinctive thing to do. All right. People, curious. Hey, Mom, I'm 8 years old, and, I'm still pissing in my pants. Is that something I should be doing? I'm guessing probably that you're going to go, Mom is going to say, you know what? Guess what? I've been trying to tell you since you were a month old, go to sit on the toilet. Or at least go out in the woods and cover it up when you're done. Depending on what part of the world you live in. Because there are places that don't have indoor bathrooms. Or toilets. Okay. So, hard to believe. So anyway, learning is the thing. And parents try to teach their children to go to the toilet instead of in their pants or on the floor. Because it's not good. It's gross and it stinks and it's not good. Not good at all. And it causes the parents a lot of work. A lot easier if you just say, you know what? I got to take a piss. I'm going to run down to the toilet. Okay, son. Or daughter. Whichever. And you do. And they do. Because they figured out, you know what? Peeing in a commode is better than peeing in my pants. It's just better. And I'm really smart. I figured out that I could go to a toilet and, do it in there and not have to walk around with shitty pants. Until my parents decide, Mom decides and figure, you like stinky and I gotta change your diaper now, and gee whiz, I hate doing this, but I'm a mother and I gotta. Cats and dogs. I don't know if cats say, you know what, I'm a cat and I'm a mother cat and I got kittens and they're sucking on my teats and I gotta lick them and clean them and eat their shit. Yuck. But anyway, cats, I don't know if they complain about that or not. Seems to be an instinctive thing. I've never seen a mother cat, that hasn't ate their children's shit. They just do. And they never ask me. And I don't remember any of the mother cats ever asking any other cat or anybody else. Just, what do I do? I mean, there's shit. And the kitten did the shit, and what do I do? And the mother cat just, nope, and it's gone. And nobody asked. The cat didn't ask anyone that I know of, because there wasn't anyone else around except her and me, perhaps. And the mother cat never asked me, what should I do with this? And then eventually the cat discovers that, oh, I put a little box with sand in it, litter box. And the kitten kind of figured, I don't know. I didn't study. I haven't watched kittens actually learn to go to the sandbox or the litter box. But they do, which is really pretty cool. Sure helps with the stink of cat piss around my living room. Which, we'll get into that. Anyhow, learning is important. Learning is the thing. Learning is natural. Kids need to learn. If a child is like young, like, like a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and they don't want to learn, something's seriously wrong with that kid's brain. If you've got a 5-year-old that's saying, I don't want to know nothing, you've got a problem. There's a child with serious brain damage. Really. And I don't wish that on anyone. And I would hope that, no child ever, actually was like 4 or 5 years old and said, I don't want to know nothing. Because that's bad. It's really bad. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. On a parent or a society or a child. I would certainly hope everybody's born, with a functioning brain. And there are times when I actually doubt that that's true. I think there are times when, more and more often, I come across people who are like, apparently there's something wrong with them because they don't want to learn. Like I said, if you're like a 4 or 5-year-old and you don't want to learn, you got serious problems because you're going to grow up and be like, oh, no, nothing. And, bump into things and, everybody's going to have to wipe your ass for you. Because you're like, I don't know how to wipe my ass. And it's going to be a very unpleasant situation for everybody, including the person that doesn't want to learn. So, hopefully, you're not born with a dysfunctional, inadequate brain. But a lot of people are. So the point is, and I don't hate on them just because they're, like, say, for example, retarded or lacking in high intelligence. Maybe they have low intelligence or just average intelligence. If you are, you are. That's just the nature of things. But the point is, you don't cause people brain damage after they're born. You don't take a child that's like 5 years old and then start putting stupid shit in their head. Well, at any age, but, typically that might be the age of when you first start going to some kind of school environment. And you're like, I'm going to send my kid to school so he can be brain damaged. So teachers with, in quotation marks, teachers, the two-fingery thing, rabbit ear finger, I'm going to send my kid to school where he can be taught. Bullshit. Like, for example, I'm going to send my kid to school so he will learn to be a very subservient, obedient little slave to the Matrix. and he'll be a pain in the ass to himself, to other people, and to society in general for the rest of his life. Because I wanted him to learn, but I made a mistake of teaching him to a school where he will be taught. So the learning process is kind of different, isn't it? If you look at it that way. If you say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to be, brain damaged. As opposed to a child saying, I want to learn how to be stupid. Which I don't think any child ever said. But I have heard lots of teachers say things like, come to school, you got to come, you got to do what I say, and I'm going to teach you how to be stupid. Now, I don't suppose they actually said that out loud. But that's the bottom line. That's what happens. You come to school, and I'm going to teach you American history, which is totally not true. And so, some asshole made it up. Like the Abe Lincoln is such a nice guy, president kind of guy. Wrong. I think history tells us that Abraham Lincoln was an asshole. And he committed crimes against humanity. Directly and indirectly. So, if this is not a history lesson about Abraham Lincoln, but since I mentioned it, Abraham Lincoln enjoys this reputation. There's even a monument to him in Washington, D.C., which I think at this point is should be turned into a curiosity, certainly not something to be looked at and said, oh, it's a monument to our hero, the asshole Abraham Lincoln. All right. Learning is good. Teaching is good as long as it's actually catering to the learning process. Indoctrinating kids is not teaching. I mean, if you want to teach them to be subservient, mindless little idiots, then I guess that would be no, it wouldn't be honorable. I'm a proud teacher. I spent 40 years of my life indoctrinating kids, children, with bullshit and stupid shit and lies and and mythological nonsense if you're in the Christian thing. Not a thing to be proud of if you did that. However, if you can say, I spent 40 years providing students with information that they wanted and needed to learn. Something like that. In other words, learning is good. Teaching could be corrupted. Teachers are corrupt, in America at least, because they don't allow students to learn. They just fucking indoctrinate them and condition them and manipulate them and brainwash them with things that are just, like I said, Abraham Lincoln, like not the hero we thought he was. I remember being in school. For example, I was taught that Christopher Columbus was a hero and an awesome dude. Now we know he was a sick, frickin' asshole prick, motherfucker. And still, we still have Columbus Day on the calendar. I mean, really? This is something about America that really pisses me off. We have holidays for people who are absolute evil, disgusting, sicko bastards. Sicko bastards. That's a word. Sicko bastards. Abraham Lincoln was like really not a nice guy. He didn't do nice things. He turned it was during Abraham Lincoln's reign of terror. And I'm thinking, who else in recent times can we compare to this asshole? But anyway, you go to school, and I remember in school, which is recent history, not ancient history. I'm not 10,000 years old. I'm mature. Anyway, Christopher Columbus, sailed the ocean blue, and he convinced the Queen Isabella, right? Okay. To see, I learned names and dates like 1492 and so on. But nobody taught me. That is to say, nobody made the information available to me that I have now because I have the internet. And like the wise man on the mountain, some guy goes up the mountain to talk to the wise guys, and I want to talk to the wise man. I want to ask a question. I want some wisdom. And he goes up and approaches the wise guy standing on the hill, wise man. And the wise man looks at him and says, before the guy even asks the question, he just looks at the guy and says, Google it. Or use whatever search engine you prefer. There are others besides Google, by the way. And I'm not even going to say that Google is the best. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's not my job to tell you that right now. All right, so I remember being in high school, and I remember being said, hey, and I was taught, Abraham Lincoln, Emancipation Proclamation, and kids like when you're like a young teenager type person, I mean, teenager that's not an old teenager, as opposed to a young teenager, is, a young teenager is like someone that's like 13, 14, 15. Whereas an old teenager would be like 17, 18, 19. Words mean what they mean. Pay attention. So, there I am. And I didn't know that words like emancipation, proclamation meant what they meant. For some reason, I thought that meant that he issued a law, like God, issues a law of nature, and said, all the slaves are free. And as you may know, now, if you're educated, you might realize that the word Emancipation Proclamation, those two words together, doesn't mean that Abraham Lincoln made a law. He just issued an order or a proclamation or an announcement, a directive. Because Congress makes laws. That's the way the system is designed. Kind of reminds me of today with Donald Trump, president. Seriously, Donald Trump, president? Really? There's something eerily spooky about that. It's like this is the first part of May. It's the 3rd of May, actually, 2017. Really. And I'm like, is there a president now? Do we actually have a president? Who is he? I wonder. No, seriously, it's like there isn't any president. There's just some guy living there named Donald Trump who's like using, office stationery from the White House and the Oval Office to write stuff and then, send it out like a proclamation. Like, I'm like the king and I have issued a king's order to hunt down and kill all the witches. Burn them at the stake. They're evil. I haven't heard anything too much about Congress doing its job lately. I mean, I'm sure it's doing something, but probably a lot of bad things, to be honest with you. and being neglectful of its responsibilities and duties as congresspeople to make the laws. And no, let's just let Donald Trump pretend to be president for a while until we get fed up with that crazy freaking lunatic and then do something about it, I guess. I don't know. Seriously, Donald Trump, just let's make Woody Allen president. Not that Woody Allen is a lunatic, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? What does Woody Allen know about being president? And what would he do if he was president? That's the sort of thing you just don't really want to know. And hope that you never have to know. Because, really? Boggles the mind. So anyway, I don't know. I'm thinking nobody's president right now. There's some guy just kind of filling in and pretending to be the president. He's like, he was walking around the house one day and somebody said to him, why don't you just go sit in the Oval Office and write some stuff down and issue some proclamations or executive orders. Pretty much the same thing. Same thing, actually, I think. Pretty much. Not a law. Just some guy saying, do this, because I said so. And I wrote it down and signed it. Like the proclamation. Like the Emancipation Proclamation, which you were taught in school. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were the lucky one or two. That wasn't brainwashed with that bullshit that he issued. He freed all the slaves in America. No, he didn't. We know that for a fact because that's not what the proclamation did or said. Just applied to those in the rebel states, the states that were trying to secede from the Union, which they have every right to do, by the way. Then and now. But I suppose if you were in high school or in a grade school, elementary, junior high, whatever, they're teaching you. Jesus Christ, what they teach people in this. It's unbelievable. It is a disgrace. It is absolutely disgusting. And why don't teachers just say, I'm not doing this? To the Board of Education, to the superintendent of schools, to the principal even. You want me to teach these children, these young people, these adolescents, this bunch of crap? I'm not doing it. And then the teacher would be fired because the principals and the Board of Education and the superintendents are usually Nazi bastards. You will indoctrinate these children, or you will be fired. Yeah, pretty much that. So, what I'm saying is, learning is good. Teaching is iffy, at best. And if you've been taught that Abraham Lincoln freed all the slaves in America, you're not educated. You're an idiot. First, you're an idiot for falling for that shit. And secondly, you're not very bright because you still think it. In spite of the fact that, Google, not to mention books, movies, and other things, that tells you that, no, that's not the way it was. Anyway, learning is the thing. And as I began this out, kind of segue backwards, monologue, meaning I talk and you listen, or you don't. And a lot of people don't. To me, listen to me. So if you don't listen to me, it's okay, Your loss, because you're probably going to keep thinking, no shit. And it's actually shit. Really, literally, shit in your head. Or your brain is turned to shit. Because you don't know shit. You think you do. And you don't, because nobody ever gave you that information in the way that was like presented. Like to say, here's Christopher Columbus in his true colors and his true nature. His brother wrote it down in the book, in his diary, saying, my brother's a fucking asshole. He likes to fuck 12-year-old native girls from America, American Indian people. I like to fuck 12-year-olds. Now, that gets back to the pedophile thing, but if he liked to fuck teenagers, because I'm not sure about the 12-year-old. I don't know if Christopher Columbus's brother actually wrote down in there, he likes to fuck 10-year-olds. I don't know if it says 10-year-olds. It probably said young girls, or I don't know. I should Google that, right? It's probably somewhere. So anyway, what I'm saying is, there's documentation, there's history, there's proven things, there's witnesses, there's facts, there's data, information that you can use to draw a conclusion today. A logical conclusion, not jump to a conclusion like most people in America do. Like if you say something like, that guy's a pedophile, and you jump to conclusions and, he rapes children. There's no place. Why would you say that? What kind of idiot would say that? Like, okay, well, for one thing, because they're miseducated or dumbed down or brain damaged because they let someone put the stupid idea in their head that the definition of the word pedophile means everybody up to the age of 18, which it doesn't, because that's not what the word means. I'm going to do a show on a guy I met on the internet the other day who has he's got a presence on the web, as it were. And he apparently is a pedophile, though I don't know if he actually says he's a pedophile. I haven't read anything where he actually said, I'm a pedophile. He's defending pedophiles and trying to make life better for the world by helping people who are pedophiles, for example. Which is a good thing, to help people that are like not normal, not healthy, not happy, who want to engage in things that are not good for them or good for their people that they have sex with, whatever, like sex, rape, I'm not talking about just consensual. Anyway, I don't want to get into the pedophile thing, or this man, his name was Daniel, I think it's like Gaither, I think. I Googled him, not a whole lot on the internet about it. But anyway, he talks about pedophilia. And a lot of things he says, I'm just going to say, some of the things that he says that I've read or heard him say make sense and are quite true. Actually, quite true. Not maybe true or possibly true, not even my opinion that it's true. It's true. It's just like the sky is fucking up. Because that's true. It is. Not debatable. So if you want to argue and debate and have a discussion or even a conversation, I'm open to the possibilities of doing that with you. I will have a conversation with you. But I don't think I'm going to debate you on anything because people don't understand the concept of what a debate is. There's Stanford Rules of Debate, or one of those college things it's called. And the rules are you debate. I mean, you give your side, I give my side, and then in the end, when all the data has been presented in this debate forum thing, at the end we say, we've thought about it, we've talked about it, we've given all the information we know about it. You've given your side, I've given my side, and then we come to a conclusion. And then there's a winner. And the winner wins. That's to say, I'm right and the other side is wrong, and the other side says, congratulations, you have presented the facts, and I now believe that, for a fact, that I was wrong, and you're right, and I agree with you now. And you shake hands, and everybody goes away happy. All right, time's up. I got to go. I will continue this show sometime. All right, have a good day. D. McClung, Art of Monologue.